I can have your attention. If I don't have your attention, let me get your attention. Ladies and gentlemen.
The FirstDownLine.com podcast.
The FirstDownLine.com podcast.
Looks like they're going to measure here. Do you think they got the first down?
Now remember that the first down line is not official.
Your official enough download for the latest in sports and technology.
Download it.
All right, welcome in. First Down Line podcast. This is episode 5, the Father's Day edition, and we are excited to have you on board. I am Ryan. We are going to have Brett Summers joining us. He is live as well. Brett, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Ryan?
Very well, thank you very much. And we were supposed to have a trio of writers with us today, but unfortunately, fortunately and unfortunately, we had plans go awry because it is Father's Day. This is the Father's Day edition. To be quite honest, that's why I look the way that I do, because I am celebrating Father's Day with relaxed attire. I was watching mostly the U.S. Open today. Going to end up watching some of the NBA Finals, which I'm pretty excited about. So, just stay tuned with us, and we'll keep going down some of the stories from FirstDownLine.com. That's where you can find all of our articles from the last 2 weeks, and we'll talk about some of those coming up today. The World Cup is going on as we speak, a bunch of things going on in sports and technology, and we encourage you to reach out to us via Twitter. You can go to FirstDownLine.com, and you can also check us out as well. You're able to do that with...
That's why I look the way that I do, because I am celebrating Father's Day with relaxed attire. I was watching mostly the U.S. Open.
Anyway, Twitter.com/FirstDownLine is a great place to go, and you can tweet us there as well. It'd be pretty cool to hear what you're thinking. In fact, we can start off with bringing out the sticks, rather. We want to know, how would you improve the in-stadium experience? That's kind of been all the rage lately with things going on in the NFL, and Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, the new home of the 49ers, is going to have a bunch of things going on with its debut next year. And then you, Brett, wrote an article on this. We'll get more into the news factor, but you talked about the reason that this was close to your heart, being a University of Wisconsin alum.
Yeah, first off, you already mentioned it, but I wanted to wish you personally a happy Father's Day, and to all the fathers out there. But yeah, so the story that I put together was kind of about the technology within stadiums, and that's definitely increasing as things go on. And when I was at the University of Wisconsin from 2008 through 2012, Camp Randall is a fantastic football venue for the Badgers, but one of the problems with it was that when you got everybody inside of that bowl, the conflicting cell signals and all that stuff, basically 81,000 people were in the dark, at least technologically wise. Cell phones basically didn't work. You were lucky if you could get a text message out, let alone make a cell phone call, or, as it becomes more and more popular, posting photos with your friends, or even videos of a crazy play that happens down on the field, and being able to do that with Instagram or Vine or something like that as things happen. And that was basically impossible. Though now the University of Wisconsin Athletic Department has gone through or is in the process of a $6.2 million technology renovation within the stadium, putting in like over 750 ports that people can use to get on the Wi-Fi network, and just give people a better experience. They're also a little bit with the design of the stadium. There is one section of the stands that makes it difficult to see the video board at times, and they've also now gone through and put in flat screens beneath that, so that the fans sitting under that portion of the stands still have replay access and things like that. So I think it's just a really smart idea on their part, and a good self-investment, I guess you'd call it, especially after a couple weeks ago when the revenues for different athletic departments came out across the country, and Wisconsin actually had the second highest amount of revenue among all universities, only behind the University of Texas. So good to see that they're investing in something that is going to benefit the fans.
We want to know your thoughts. Tweet us at FirstDownLine. That's our Twitter handle. In-stadium experience for me, I have to think that I like the idea of being able to have your ticket, and let's say you buy an upper deck ticket. This was a share that we put on our Twitter feed a while back of someone else's ideas. I really like the sound of it, but I would modify this concept. You're up in the nosebleeds, and all of a sudden you can open your phone app and be able to say, I want to go ahead and move down to the third baseline or move into the 50-yard zone. And the proposal that the person who wrote this article wrote was about paying an extra fee to be able to do that. And I think that's probably the way you have to go, but I'm talking like, what's the real bonus for attending the game? And that's being able to, at some point in the late part of the game, click a button and see what's there. You're actually in attendance, you bought your ticket. What is available, and could you move down, maybe not even for a fee, but being able to move down and check out the game from a different part of the stadium? I already can argue with myself and know that you're going to have guys from the upper deck who have had a few too many pops. Not the people down in the 50-yard line section may not want to have them coming down to their section, but at the same time, I could see some benefits of a version of that. I don't think too many people, if they weren't going to pay for the $400 ticket to begin the game, I don't know if they're going to pay for the $400 ticket later on in the game.
Yeah, something else that I was thinking would be kind of cool, and I guess it sort of exists still at this point, but not without a delay in most cases, would be just to be able to have that in-stadium play-by-play feed delayless for people. I mean, especially if you are a little bit removed from the action on the field, it can be difficult at times to be able to keep up with everything that's going on down on the field. And if you've got that announcer in your ear live, live without a delay, I think it could make the game day experience more enjoyable.
So, again, tweet us. We want to know, bring out the sticks. We want to know your opinion as you can go to twitter.com/firstdownline and let us know how you would improve the in-stadium experience. I mentioned Father's Day. Final round of the U.S. Open is today, and the U.S. Open has dabbled in some technology. We'll get into that in a little bit. May elaborate more on the stadium technology story that Brett wrote, but also a couple weeks back, talking about wearables. You have the wrist items that you can get, the Fitbits, and then Fuel Band from Nike. Those are out there, but he looked at some other things that you can put on your body that are actual wearables, even if they don't usually get lumped into that category that's become these wristwatch replacement type deals. And we'll talk to him a little bit more about that, have him explain that. I'll dabble in the gambling cube, which was a quick story that I saw how an app that gives an interface is being used in the gambling world. And then with HomeKit and HealthKit, which were two parts of the Worldwide Developers Conference by Apple, they have those two things out there to developers to try to find ways to make more things that enable you to have better health and have a better integrated home experience. I'll get Brett's thought, but what would you want to see come out of that? I already know my answer, and I'll share that with you in a little bit, but those two things are out there. Developers, people who are far smarter than me, are working on these things already. I want to know what you would want to have come out of that if you could have anything where your iPhone could control an aspect of your health or an aspect of your home. Lastly and not least, Sean did post that story. He's unable to be with us because of a great family deal with him being able to go out with his family for Father's Day. Wasn't expecting it. It was put onto him at the last moment by his wife. So he wrote the FIFA World Cup, this summer's most popular science experiment. So we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up. We also have an app or a download to show you, and then also some of the top Android World Cup apps that are out there as well. So if you want to join the party, you can definitely do so live with our Google Hangout, but also you'll be able to do so after the fact, twitter.com/firstdownline. You've been taking in much of the U.S. Open as it's been going on this past weekend, Brett?
Unfortunately, I haven't had much of an opportunity. I know the guy who's out in front, well, with the exception of today, had 3 spectacular rounds, but despite a little bit of a step back in his play, still is in position to win at this point. So that's about all that I know right now.
Yeah, no worries. I actually watched more of it than I've been able to in years past, which is fun. I mean, especially for Father's Day weekend, I really enjoyed that. But yeah, Keimer just blowing the field away. I was pulling for Ricky Fowler. I'm still looking for him to kind of step up and become that guy who matches the marketing hype, with Puma having signed him to ferocious deal, and also with the fact that he wears the orange. I think it's Oklahoma State, I want to say, is his alma mater, so he wears the orange on Sundays, much like Tiger Woods used to wear the red when he was playing competitive golf on Sundays. I guess he still wears the red on Sundays. He's just never in a position to actually win a golf tournament anymore. But the U.S. Open has paired up with IBM, and they are trying to go the route of analytics, much like the NHL and the NBA have. In fact, I saw some neat things with the way that they're breaking down different individual shots at the U.S. Open, but they're trying to pair it up with the iPad app, and the idea is to kind of meld the worlds of live video, which everyone's glued to, but also the extra experience of the second screen, having your tablet or phone with you and being able to see more data as it pertains to the live video. I thought those were some cool things IBM and the USGA are working on. IBM's definitely touting this side of their business because they're not only doing this with the U.S. Open of golf, but also the tennis version that's going to be coming up later this summer. And the idea, as we posted in the Forbes.com article, is predictive analytics are definitely kind of the wave of the future. So if you're looking for ways to consume more data at these major tournaments for tennis, golf, and I'm sure if there's aspects that if IBM gets a contract with, say, the NFL or another major sporting league, I'm sure we could see some things that would be really cool down the road with the likes of NBC Sports Live Extra or Watch ESPN, where you can have a sidebar that talks about all the data that goes with it too.
Yeah, I like my statistics. I'm not maybe as much of a stat head as some guys out there, but I know even in the case of, if you can't get access to a Major League Baseball game and you're forced to watch it Gamecast version on the web, just the little things about, what percent chance your team has of scoring when it has so many runners on base and so many outs. I find that stuff interesting, and I think to be able to have those in a live setting when you actually are able to watch the video would certainly add quite a bit of intrigue. And I know you were going to get into something a little bit later, but maybe in a live sports betting bar situation too, that could have some interesting possibilities that I think could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's an interactive part of sports. If you're a sports gambler, you live and die by a lot of moments that are in every single sporting event. So I think that would be a neat concept. The other thing that they talked about with the technology in the U.S. Open is even Pinehurst #2, which was really heavily renovated course for its first U.S. Open, I want to say in about 9 years. They had to take into account the improvements in technology with the clubs and the balls that these guys use versus even 9 years ago. So it used to be that you tiger-proof a course, and now you're just kind of proofing it against the increase and improvement in technology. So let us know what you think. You can do so by going to twitter.com/firstdownline. And on the same note of technology, Brett, I know that I'm going to have you get into your wearable story in a little bit, but if you have anything that we didn't touch on with that stadium technology experience, we kind of broke into that with Bring Out the Sticks. What are some things that you can tell us about the stadium technology piece that you wrote that maybe we haven't mentioned? And then also introduce us to the wearables story that you wrote as well.
Well, I guess, one thing, actually going back a little bit, if viewers or readers have checked in more than just the last couple of weeks, I had that series of stories with the creator of Shut Vision, and he had talked about how one of his goals for in-stadium experience for fans also with Shut Vision is that perhaps on your phone, mobile device, tablet, or whatever, in the game, you would actually be able to tap into those Shut Vision streams live and watch from your player's perspective as the action's happening right down below you on the field. And I think that would be a pretty interesting concept. And I think there probably has to be a little bit more development to go into it to make it a little more seamless before maybe we see something like that used in a professional or high-ranking college athletics setting. But I would like to see that. And then just kind of going into the story of the past week, there were just a couple other things that I touched on, such as Stanford University's athletic venues being the first to actually interact with fans during the game. They'd be able to place an order at the athletic venue food stands, and then not only would they just order it and then go pick it up later, but Stanford University then had the ability to send that fan a notification when the food was ready, therefore, eliminating a lot of time wasted standing in line. And I know, at least for my part, if I go to a professional sporting event, I'm probably not going to go to the concessions at all. I'm going to eat before, and then I'm going to wait till after, because I just don't want to miss any of the game. So, if you have the opportunity to do something like this and you get hungry and you don't have to miss any of the game, you get in between orders so that maybe it's ready between quarters or halftime or something, and you can ensure that you can get up and get your food and get back without missing any of the action. I think that adds to not only the fan experience, but then obviously the team or the organization benefits from that as well, because maybe those fans who wouldn't otherwise order during game time settings will now do so because they won't miss the game, and the team makes a little bit more cash.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I thought that was one of the coolest things, because one thing I learned from a fellow season ticket holder at Mile High was you run for the beer when your team is about to punt, because the worst thing that you're going to see, or the best thing that you're going to see, is maybe your team recovers a muffed punt. But otherwise, you're either going to see a change of possession and a timeout, or you're going to see the other team run it back for a touchdown anyway. You probably don't want to witness either of those two things. But that's for beer. Beer's kind of on demand. If you're able to also order your barbecue brisket sandwich or whatever is the case, and know that it's going to be ready at any given time. Now, I think that was pretty cool. So if you haven't seen it, that's posted right now at FirstDownLine.com. Also, to the wearable story.
Oh, right. Sorry. So, I was just sort of doing a little bit of digging, and this wasn't something that I had even heard of before the last week, but this Sensoria technology that you're seeing on your screen right now, at least in this particular example, what this company is hoping to do at some point is literally to have just about any article of clothing you could wear be outfitted with some type of technology that benefits you in some way. Well, at least with this particular pair of socks, what athletes can look for out of this, or maybe if you're even struggling with foot pain or other things of that nature, not only does this sock contain basic information in terms of like pedometer use, keeping track of steps, but it also can pinpoint your walking or running style, how your foot's landing, where it's landing, and how that may be harmful in the long term, and then in real time can give you suggestions on how to change your gait or how you walk in order to improve that and better your health, which I just thought was a really interesting concept. And I mean, at least as far as I know, I don't have any issues walking, but I know there are certainly people out there who would like to help their own. There is a video posted within the link that you can get a little more information, but beyond the socks too, I'd like to see or even hear just some of the ideas that these guys have in mind for other articles of clothing besides socks.
Well, I think this kind of goes back to what we should actually talk about now. If we go just with the natural progression of topics, is this goes back to the idea of the health kit for the iOS, because you're going to be able to see more of these devices that integrate with your phone. It's data analytics, certainly. These are things that are going to help keep your health in check. For example, health kit is supposed to, for certain medical groups, and I'm sure it'll expand, if you have an issue with, let's say, cholesterol, and you have a device that can measure cholesterol, it can notify your doctor when you're in a bad situation with your cholesterol. I mean, that's a really cool win. Same kind of thing with the socks. If you're able to realize that you're having extra force on joints that are down there, which I don't know if that's possible where we're at right now, but it's plausible for the future, that's a huge win too, because you're going to be able to predictively prevent injuries, just like on the macro scale you're able to do now with some of the concussion adapters that are on football helmets now, or with the mouth guards that Sean's written about prior that are being proposed. Those are all predicting injuries to try to keep athletes healthier. The same kind of thing with the socks, for example. I could see that being an applicable use. In Health Kit, you've seen the commercials now where on your golf glove, the swing is diagnosed. Swimmer gets out of the water, she puts her little, it looks like a pebble, onto the top of her phone, and it automatically synchronizes data. I thought those were two really cool uses of the technology that I think piggyback on that article you wrote.
Yeah, I mean, really the stuff that's coming out to not only aid athletic performance, but beyond that, for the everyday person who maybe is just trying to stay in good health, and the long-term benefits that can have is really outstanding, and I can't wait to see as more things come out. And I know you were going to talk a little bit more about your home and health kits, and I know there's something for me also that is definitely something I would like to see eventually come into play. So I think I'll let you go into that so we can share what we're looking for.
Yeah, Worldwide Developers Conference happened just a couple of weeks back, and really quick, I invite you to tweet us at FirstDownLine. You can do so on Twitter, twitter.com/FirstDownLine, as we want to hear what you think. But with the home kit and being able to automate your TV life, I've always had this dream, and I think it's closer than ever now with the home kit being out there. I want to see developers, listen to me, I want to see this from you. You have your iPad, and my goal is, say, my man cave, which I don't have yet, I have gigantic TVA. Okay, let's say it's a 60 or 70 inch. And I'm going to line on the border, the outside edges, equivalent TVs, maybe 4 or 5 on each side, depending on how the sizes match up, so that on Sundays I can pay DirecTV a whole lot of money to be able to have all the games going on at once. But I want an iPad interface so that when I want to swap, let's say, second from the bottom on the right-hand side is the game that I want to see. I just want to be able to click this interface, maybe 1 click, 2 clicks, maybe it's Xbox style where I just tell DirecTV's A4 or something and it just switches. I want to see that. And I think with HomeKit and having developers have a new language that they debuted at Worldwide Developers Conference, I think we're closer to that than we have ever thought about before. So
that you don't have to actually change channels. It just flips spots.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, there could be analytics too, my man, where it's kind of like the first down red zone channel, where it flip-flops for me. That would be even cooler, but I want it to be on demand, and I just want it to be so I can see all the games really easily. And I want 11 TVs, which, I mean, come on, that's a dream.
Who doesn't want 11 TVs?
Now, did you have something you wanted to see come out of Health Kit, Home Kit?
Well, out of Health Kit, yeah. I know there. For me, I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I take my health pretty seriously and keeping my numbers in check. But every day I have to test my blood sugar multiple times. But I mean, in best case scenario, that's always 2 or 3 hours apart at a time, and there are just certain things sometimes that are out of your control that you don't realize which way your blood sugar is going at some point between that. So I would love to see something built in with the Health Kit, even if it meant something that had to be implanted beneath the skin that talked to your phone, but just to be able to keep a live read of blood sugar numbers so that you always knew what you were at, and all you had to do was glance at your phone rather than having to test your blood or something. And for me, that would be a huge thing into being able to maintain the level of health that I want to keep.
Well, I hope that comes out, because yours is far more meaningful than having an 11 TV custom remote control. But that said, if all things are going well, I'd like to have mine as well. You can let us know what you would like to see. Again, tweet us at FirstDownLine. You can also email us fdl@firstdownline.com. We're running a little bit slow, and so what I'm going to encourage you to do is go to firstdownline.com and see Sean's story as he talks about some of the metabolic testing that's happening before, during, and after matches at this year's World Cup. He had that posted. It's the most recent article. If you're listening or watching this podcast on Sunday, June 15th. Otherwise, you can always search for it. Just Google, or rather search on the website, FirstDownLine.com, Sean Barnes' name. I encourage you to look at that, because Sean is a doctor, and he's someone who writes for us, really likes to look at the almost medical journal side of sports and some of the experiments that are going on there. So since we don't have a whole lot of time, and since he wasn't able to join us today, I want you to check that out. Also, the Gambling Cube story you can look at as well on FirstDownLine.com, because I want to move into a couple of the downloads for this week, just because I'm pretty excited about one that I'm going to write about later on this week at FirstDownLine.com, because it's called Lucy, and for those of us in broadcast, which is definitely something that I do, it was something I thought this past weekend's, or I guess it was the weekend's, National Sportscasters and Sports Writers Association Conference in Salisbury, North Carolina. I will encourage anyone, and Brett and I fall under this umbrella, if you are in either of those two fields, you need to go check out this conference. Membership is $50 for the year, and you get basically everything that the conference entails, including a banquet and a golf tournament at cost. It's a pretty cool investment, and you get to be around a bunch of people who are in the same fields as you, including 50 winners from each state in both fields. So there's state writers of the year, there's state sportscasters of the year, there's a Hall of Fame induction, and then there's national winners as well. So I encourage you to check it out. And one guy who has worked in a lot of different places, including now he works for the rivals arm of Notre Dame. He was showing me this new broadcast technology called Lucy, or it may not be new, but it's an evolving technology there, where on your iPhone you're able to immediately just click a button and start broadcasting live. And there's a cool demo that you can check out at the website, which I will link in a future story. We're just going to run out of time, and I'd rather go over some of the Android apps that I found for the World Cup. I think that'd be more applicable for where we are. But you can click a button and bam, be on the air with two-way audio that sounds like you're in a portable studio somewhere. So they use this to cover some crisis situations. I can't remember the example that's in the demo offhand, but I mean, what a really cool technology. And for high school broadcasters, which I have been most recently in December, you're able to do this with a high quality feed for doing high school games. With this technology, there's mixers that go with laptop downloads of this program, or you can do it with your iPad app. So as this technology evolves, you're able to do basically more with less. And my last station, we invested, I want to say, $7,000 into sounding really good. I think this app is somewhere in the less than $100 range. It's definitely less than $1,000 investment. So check it out this week or next. We'll have that at FirstDownLine.com. Also coming up, we'll show you more about the Shut Vision in person, as we had a chance to visit the Portland Thunder, and they were able to show us not only a camera, but one of the players, the equipment manager, talked about it with us, and also show you the adapter for concussions, because a lot of the players are using that as well. You're an Android user, Brett. Do you have any? Oh, go ahead. I don't want to go straight into the Android apps. Go ahead. I want to let you talk about.
Oh no, that I was answering your question. So continue.
Okay, yeah. So do you have a World Cup app that's out there for you? Because I don't know how into the soccer you get, but a buddy of mine is very much into soccer, and we talk about this almost constantly this time of year. So I like to play the EA Sports FIFA that came out, but do you have any, as we'll get into a list that we found of downloads?
I do not, actually. Soccer is not one of my more favorited sporting events to watch, so I honestly haven't watched anything World Cup related since it started.
Oh, you're killing me. I thought you were. So what were you answering? I don't want to cut you off then. Did you have a reply to what I was talking about with the broadcast and also the NSSA?
Oh, no, I was just saying that, yes, I am an Android user.
Okay. Well, then you need to check these out. This is from a website called Android Headlines, and they have the top 10 apps that you need to have for World Cup 2014. I'll just read the first 5 really quick. Xperia, FIFA, which is a Sony type app, and it's giving you just different lock screens and wallpapers. And there's 2014 FIFA World Cup Live, which is an Adidas app. It's also live wallpaper development. Then there's FIFA 14 by EA Sports, which, if you don't like soccer, but you play video games, is pretty awesome. Pro Evolution Soccer Manager, which is a different team manager activity, kind of makes it unique according to this website. Given how important team management is in sports, PES takes what you might think you know about sports video games and turns it on its head. And then there's the Google Now app as well, which is voice activated to get you the stats and things that you might need to know about it. SofaScore has a World Cup 2014 app. OneFootball Brazil is an app that goes into live scores, stats, and again, if you're looking for something to keep you in tune with what's going on in the World Cup, that's a good one. Number 3 one on the list is the ESPN FC Soccer app, which if you like the Sports Center app, is a good way to go. FIFA has its own official app, and that's number 2 on the list from Android headlines. But last but not least, Univision Deportes is the number 1 spot. It says the only downside, you have to have a cable package with Univision included, but if you're a sports fan, you probably already have that anyway. They call it the Ultimate World Cup app, and something that everyone needs right now with scorekeeping, brackets, live coverage, a whole bunch of stuff. So we'll link to that in the show notes so you can check it out if you haven't had a chance already. I can't believe World Cup, Brett. I mean, I know you come from hockey world, and you're hardcore football in the Big Ten, but not even every 4 years.
No, my interest level in soccer is pretty low.
Well, hey, it's there for the taking if you want to check it out. You have the USA and Ghana coming up in the first game for the Americans, so check it out. I know if Travis was on here right now, he'd be chastising you for your dislike of soccer. I even watched some English Premier League this year. I was getting up at 6 a.m. on Sundays, so I'm considering myself in a transition point with soccer, and I think it helps when you have friends who are around you who are so passionate. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up this edition, episode 5 of the First Down Line podcast?
Just again, happy Father's Day to all the dads out there, and another fun opportunity to get on here and talk about sports and technology for First Down Line.
I agree with you, and we're going to do it again in 2 weeks, and we'll continue to work on this Google Hangouts on air. I know that it's a new thing that we started a couple weeks back. It didn't go as smoothly as you would hope for a first run, but that's okay. And then from there, we're definitely going to keep evolving it. So we want your participation. If you don't know about the site, or you know people who don't know about the site, we would love you to share our site with them. So be sure to tweet using the hashtag #TechInSports or our Twitter handle, FirstDownLine. You can also email us, fdl@firstdownline.com. We're on Facebook as well. For Brett, I'm Ryan. Be sure to check out all the cool content that has been posted at firstdownline.com, and we'll talk to you again in a couple of weeks. Should be a lot of fun. First Down Line.
That's it for the FirstDownline.com podcast. Check out more at our webpage at FirstDownline.com.